So with the concept of everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold, how do we position it to where it's their idea?
Right.
That we're teaching them and educating them, but they're making the decision and they're coming with the final conclusion on the teaching. Like we're teaching them 90% and they're teaching themselves that extra 10.
Yeah.
We're presenting 90% of the problem, but they're filling in that extra 10% with their own family details and who it is through these questions you're talking about.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Life Insurance Academy podcast. I'm here with Roger Short, the legend, the man, the myth, all that stuff, and Zach.
I appreciate the intro, Chris. Wow. Appreciate
You're welcome.
the
Knuckles. There we go. Cool. We are bringing massive value to you today. Today we are talking about conversations that will help you close more sales.
That's what everyone wants to know, man.
Yeah.
How do I close more sales?
Yep. We're going to talk about, really, this is kind of a framing conversation, right? So what we're doing is eliminating the noise around us. Right now, you do see a frame right here. You're seeing a frame. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, you don't see the mess that's in this room right now that Adam is sitting
What mess
in.
are you talking about?
The squalor.
This is the
squalor that Adam is sitting in over there. I'm kidding.
This is the neatest studio ever.
It is beautiful. It's great. So we're talking about framing, eliminating the noise, and driving a conversation to the point of a close. That's really what we're talking about today.
Eliminating distractions.
Yeah.
What to not talk about, or what not to talk about.
I don't know if we're going to talk about that so much because I want to focus on what to talk about. And really, this probably will be a 2-part conversation. In our next podcast, we'll talk about the things you probably shouldn't talk about. Does that sound like fun? What do you think?
I don't know. As long as it brings value to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
And the world. You're here so you don't get what?
Fined.
Fined?
It's Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to talk about this framing conversation, and we have some points here. We'll go ahead and start it this way. Our clients should understand a process. They should feel a certain way. They should know where this is going in their conversation with us. And, I just got off a training with some agents in regards to this, and some of them are like just getting started. They're like, yeah, I've got a flip chart, but I don't know what the heck to do. I don't even know where to start with this. So how does this work? So I think it would be helpful to give our listeners the opportunity to know maybe some questions that they can ask themselves as they move forward in this framing. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible to understand the framing and how to position conversations if you don't know the end result or the desired result you're looking for?
That's really kind of the point. You're right. No, you can't. I think people get caught up because they don't know the end result.
And I think back to your point and back to your coaching and the questions that new agents ask all the time is they want to know how to do something before they know why or what they're trying to build. Like, I don't care what you do. If you are framing a house, let's say, you have a plan to start it out with. You generally have a drawing of what the entire house looks like on the outside, right?
Correct.
If you're building the Legos, you generally have the image on the box with the directions of what it's going to look like, and then boom, you start with the framing.
The puzzle starts with the outside pieces.
Unless you're different.
Unless you're different. A movie starts with the end in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think agents get caught up in process. What are the right
But why?
What are the magic words? What are the magic words that will unlock the sale?
Yeah, and like to Roger's point, can you imagine doing a puzzle if you never saw the image?
It'd be I guess it depends on how many pieces.
But right. I think the reason
unless you're different.
Yeah, unless you're different.
I think the reasons agents don't do that is because they're clouded by being desperate or needing income or these other outside factors that don't allow them to see the big picture, which doesn't allow them to believe inside their heart of what they're trying to accomplish. because the clearer the image is of what you're wanting to accomplish for the family and the need that we're actually
Trying to meet.
Like, how do you position a conversation? What do you want to talk about? How do you know if you're on topic or off topic?
Yeah.
You can't.
So what
That's
about
true.
framing, Chris? What about it?
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think that the first question is, what is it we are trying to accomplish? I think it's simple, right? It's discovering the need, meeting the need, and serving the client. I think that's what it comes down
Is
to.
meeting the need and serving the client two different things?
Could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be. Now I've got to think about that for 40 minutes. I always like threes.
You just put those last two together.
We'll erase the bottom one. Meet the need, or discover
Identify
the need.
the need and meet the need.
Meet the need.
Yeah.
I like serving the client because it makes it personal. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
I think
you know?
serving isn't
It
necessary.
eliminates the client. Like,
You don't have to have the desired result in order to serve the client. There's been many cases where, honestly, the advice is to not do nothing, or and you're organizing their paperwork.
but that's
so
a
getting
need
ready-
that you've met, though, right? You've discovered the need. You met the need.
You're still meeting
No,
a
maybe the
need.
need is already met, but you can still serve the people that we see.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
put them in a better position than you left them, even if you're not writing a policy.
Yeah, I would say that's still meeting a need, right? It's the need you discovered was, man, they're way in
Yeah, they were
disorder.
confused and there was
They're-
disarray.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the picture on the box. Ultimately, is discover the need, meet the need, serve the client.
So what are we
that's
doing to
it.
frame it up?
So as far as framing it, I think there are some questions that will help us do that, right? So for me, like the first question is how does the client feel? How do they feel? How do they feel about the product that we're offering, or the solution that we're offering?
Mhm.
How do they feel about the process, and how do they feel about us? I think those are important
In
questions.
that order?
Probably us first,
Mm.
right? Process, and then the answer to the
Product,
or the need. That's the thing.
person, the process,
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important stuff. And I think there's some ways into that conversation. I think we talked about in our training, we talked about the importance of a belief statement that creates a vulnerability, empathy with the client, that you become a human being and you're expressing the importance of what you do, why it matters to you. And I think that resonates with people. That's the first way, talking about the people, the stakeholders, or the people that are going to be involved or are going to be affected by whatever change is going to happen as a result of them passing away, them getting an illness or an injury or something that would prevent them from getting income, or even trying to protect their savings, whether we're talking about, final expense coverage, mortgage protection coverage, or annuities, So I think those are important conversations, and asking the right questions. I think that creates an emotional conversation to move forward.
So we're framing this up. I'm trying to get context to this.
Right.
He's trying to frame you up
I'm
hard. is
I'm
what
trying
he's
to get
doing.
context
I feel
to
like I'm
this.
doing a training.
I'm trying to
That's
get
great.
context to this.
Yeah.
So new agents that are watching, we're trying to frame up our conversation, right, with the clients. Our goal is to keep certain things inside the frame. That's
Right.
where our focus is, but eliminate the things that are distractions or unnecessary.
Right.
And what are you saying those important things are that we need to keep inside of that frame? How the client feels?
Yeah, I think that's important.
That's okay.
Correct.
What else are we keeping inside that frame?
How is this helping them? Like, do they have a vision of this helping them at all? Right? Like, are they able to take ownership of this along with us? Like, we've talked about this in terms of having a conversation and telling the client what they need and not moving the needle at all. Right? Like going in and doing our presentation and telling them all the reasons why they should purchase a life insurance policy, final expense, or mortgage protection, and nothing moves, right? But it's not until we start asking them questions that help them expand their vision for this, right? So it's how is this going to help me in the future? So you're really looking towards the future, asking questions that are going to help.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of my favorite sayings that I've said on a million different trainings is, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold.
Right.
And it's taking as an agent, we have to understand the difference in that. Are we going in and pitching a product, or not even that we're pitching a product or trying to get them to buy something? how do they perceive it from us? Because they're always going to lean towards they're trying to be sold until they're not.
Yeah.
And you have, for me, I always have to think about if I'm in the client's shoes, if someone was coming and knocking on my door, setting an appointment or sitting down with me, how do I feel? How guarded I am? What are my thoughts? Do I need this? Yeah, probably. And if they position it really well and frame that photo, yeah, I really want this. But the one thing that's holding me back is I want it, but I might not want it from them because I feel like they're really adamant about me getting this for some reason. And that can kind of sketch me out, as well. And we're humans. We got to understand that this is natural. So with the concept of everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold, how do we position it to where it's their idea?
Right.
That we're teaching them and educating them, but they're making the decision and they're coming with the final conclusion on the teaching. Like we're teaching them 90% and they're teaching themselves that extra 10.
Yeah.
We're presenting 90% of the problem, but they're filling in that extra 10% with their own family details and who it is through these questions you're talking about.
And I think that's this vision and ownership is tied together because that's really the next piece is, do they own it? Do they have vision for it? And do they take ownership of that solution that we're offering them? And those conversations, it's kind of like this, like if I'm talking to my kids and I'm saying, I remember, when they're little, now they're taller than me, but I'm like, hey, look over there. And they're like, what am I looking at? And I'm pointing to something. They don't see it from my perspective. It doesn't work that way. It's not until I get down at their level and I'm leaning over their shoulder and they're looking down my arm towards that item. And they say, oh, I see it now. It's weird. Like you're sitting next to somebody, you're like, go check that out. And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. But it's not until that vision is shared and those, so questions of, why is this important to you? What got you started thinking about final expenses? Or what are you concerned about your retirement or losing money? Or when did you start getting concerned about protecting what's left of your retirement in an annuity conversation? Things like that. It gives them a chance to verbalize and own those things. There's a great quote by Jordan Peterson, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'll give you an example of it. He's a psychologist, and he talks to people about their problems all day long. And he said, reference to this, that I never try to solve somebody's problem. Ultimately, I don't want to be the hero of their story. That's not my job. Like they need to be empowered to be able to be the hero of their own story. So it's not until we can come alongside people, give them the language to communicate what's important to them, where they're like, hey, this is my idea now. I have ownership of this. I can see why this matters so much. So
that's the art, man.
Yeah.
That is the art, because think about it. Nobody wants to be told what to do.
No.
Or told what they should do.
Yeah.
Everybody likes a sounding board, and they love to talk through things with people. So if we're that counselor, if we're that sounding board, and in any type of counseling, they will never, ever make a decision for you or tell you what you need to do.
Yeah.
They will hear you out. They will present all the possible scenarios, but ultimately they give you the tools and the confidence to make your own decision.
Right.
That's exactly what we are doing, or any successful agent is doing, is giving them all the available options, playing all the different scenarios, painting all the different pictures, giving them all the tools and education and confidence for them to make their own decision in that. Right. So they're never told what to do.
Yes.
You had Jordan Peterson quote. I got it. You ready?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
You ready?
Yeah.
I decided to listen. I've learned not to steal my clients' problems from them.
Steal it from them. That's a great line.
I don't want to be the redeeming hero, not in someone else's story. I don't want their lives. People I listen to need to talk. That's how people think when you let them talk. So this idea of keeping things in the frame, you said another language you used was guardrails, right? Framing, guardrails. It's like, how do we keep things structured so that the agent knows where to keep the focus of the conversation? Where are we pointing the finger to?
Correct.
What are we having them look at? You said emotional guardrails, like how does it make them feel?
Right.
And this part right here that Jordan Peterson's talking to speaks to that piece. Like how does my need, how do I feel about this need and the people that it's going to affect if I don't take care of it?
And
if I do take care of it,
Right.
which way does it make me feel?
And it doesn't have to be the super mushy thing.
No.
And I think in this, like the how do they feel, the emotional conversation, we have words in our presentation that we connect with people, like concern, like what got you concerned about this, or when did you start feeling concerned about this? Love. A lot of people, they love their families and they want to do something extra and leave a legacy. The word legacy is there in regards to that. What else are listed?
You listed emotional guardrails. First one, keep that inside the framework. Vision guardrails. Do they have a vision for, what their decision is going
Correct.
to do? And are we giving them an opportunity to verbalize the problem and how the stakeholders are going to be affected if I take care of it or if you don't take care of it?
Right.
Stakeholders, beneficiaries, another word. Right?
Yeah.
For
But it
beneficiaries,
may not be just the
no.
beneficiary. It's the people who are affected by the loss,
Yeah.
right? So it could be the beneficiary's family,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we've sat in sits where we protected it was a final expense sit, but we protected a home because the home mattered to the family above all else.
When you say protected the home, what do you mean?
with a life insurance plan. So it was
You put funds in place to make
Correct.
house payments or
Yes,
pay off the home.
That is exactly what we did, to
Yeah.
make house payments for a certain number of years to make sure that this wasn't lost, along with the mom, the grandma, the great grandma.
the primary income earner.
yeah. And it wasn't, in that case, it wasn't just the income earner. Yes, it was income, but it was
The caretaker.
Yes, that's what it was. It was the caretaker and what that environment represented for that family.
Mm-hmm.
That was very important to them. It really mattered.
So it went from a final expense sale to this home is very important to your family. It's a part of the nuclear. It's like the nucleus.
yeah,
This is a center
hub.
where people come together, and this is where they do life.
yeah,
What happens to this home when you pass away?
correct.
I never
Right.
thought about that. I was just thinking about the funeral.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden it turns into another conversation. That's the vision piece.
Right.
Like, so now they've had a chance to emotionally express it, but now you're giving them an opportunity to speak to what it's going to do or not do. And that's their vision, thinking
Correct.
forward.
yes,
So that's inside the frame.
Yeah.
Right.
From an agent's perspective, just like you said, you have to be open to that. You have to craft the entire picture for you. So it may not just be the husband or the kids or the spouse or the house, right? It's anybody in their life that is receiving any sort of value from this person, right?
Correct.
It could be they're taking care of somebody else, or they make meals for a neighbor down the street that is elderly. Like that stuff's going to go away as well. How could, if they have that heart for that, how can they benefit and take care of that? It could be a church, that they, help fund or support. It could be a community event. It could be anything around there. And us as agents, we can't be so zoomed in on what happens if this person passes away. It's what are all the different aspects in their life, all the different people that depend on a cousin, an uncle, a brother, for any reason. That loss is going to be felt throughout the entire community, and we have to be able to see that. And then when we do, and I promise you this, the first thing a client's thinking about, even if they want the life insurance, they're thinking about that immediate one or two people that it's affecting. They don't think about everybody else and how much they're dependent on.
These conversations expand vision. That's why I say it's a vision frame, or we're framing it around vision. It's expanding it, because immediately they're saying, I probably should do something about final expenses, right? Because I don't want my son or daughter to be left with a bill. But they've never verbalized it. They've never said it before. But now they say that. And then the questions expand and expand and expand. And now the need's there, and they're taking hold of it. It's there. I mean, really, if you've gotten to that point and there's agreement and they like how it makes them feel, I mean, really, you've done the sale. Like that's the sales key part of the sales process.
You've maintained the emotions inside the frame.
Yeah.
How does it make them feel? You're now painting a picture and telling a story of which they're central in their story. You're not jumping into their story. It's their story. But you're actually getting to future cast what's going to happen if they're starting to see the results. And I think one of the other ones you talked about was keeping it inside the frame, this idea of ownership. the client taking ownership. What do you mean by that?
That's where the conversation is shifting to where they're solving the problem. We're just simply asking the questions, and then they're solving the problem themselves.
Yeah, that's kind of what Zach was talking about. Like we're painting the picture, and they realize now there's a problem, and this is how I can solve it. Can you help me?
Yeah, it's so important because that's very different than what people think of selling in general, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to show you like the features of this.
Features and benefits.
Oh man,
that's it.
Wait till you hear this A rating. Oh my gosh, dude, it's going to blow you away.
Exciting.
Right?
Yeah, this has a terminal illness rider.
You never hear that.
Do you know that if you get cancer, you can accelerate this? Like if you're going to die within 12 months, you can start getting that money early. Nobody's excited about that.
Nobody's excited about
right?
it.
Except the agent, because they think it's a...
yeah, they get jazzed.
It has to be painted in light of a scenario which this could be real and how this benefit can then help.
If you get anything out of this wacky episode, in light of, I love that line. In light of what? In light of their circumstances, in light of their relationships, like that stuff.
Do you think they care about this piece of paper with some numbers on it?
No.
No, they don't. They don't care if it comes in a fancy folder.
I've seen where they keep it.
Yeah.
They really don't. They really don't. It doesn't mean anything to them. And to be honest, a lot of them don't read it after you leave the home.
They just know it's done.
It's a promise. And what is the promise? The promise comes from us as the agents to communicate that promise, because it doesn't matter what the policy says or they did or didn't read it. It's up to us to educate them, and hopefully they remember exactly what that promise is too. But that promise is attached to something. And what that promise is attached to is this vision piece. It's not what the policy is or how much it is. It's what it's going to do and how it's going to impact the family.
Right.
That's the promise. That's where always the conversation has to be led to. It always goes back to that. That's the anchor. That's why they keep it. That's why they're emotionally attached to it. When they think about the policy, they're thinking about that vision that you've painted, that what if I do, what if I don't question that you painted. And if you didn't paint any of that, if you didn't go through that, and it's about, oh, you don't have this? Oh, well, you need $10,000. Here's the price. Here's your 3 options. Which one's the most affordable for you? Great, thank you. I'll talk to you later. Is there anybody else I can help? About the paper, it's about the number. It will always be replaced and held on to, and they'll forget why they even had it 2 years later.
Yeah, if you're not doing these things, you're either not going to get a sale or you're going to get a chargeback.
Yeah.
If you're not willing
Or,
to have
you'll get the laydowns. Those guys will keep their policies, but it certainly won't be the persistency rating you want.
Right.
The level you want. You won't be helping families the way you tell people you help families.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're just doing a transaction. So framing. So they got the emotions. How does it make them feel? Vision. Are they seeing what it can do for the stakeholders?
Right.
Or how the stakeholders are going to be impacted negatively if they don't take action? And then
Ownership.
You talked about ownership. Do they have ownership of it? Are we giving them an opportunity to take ownership of it and solve that problem with us?
That's before they sign.
And when we say ownership, they're not actually receiving something from you, but they're buying into this idea that they need it because you've positioned the conversation and you've let them realize that they're integral in their own story.
Yes.
And you're making them a hero.
They're empowered.
Yeah. You're empowering them to take action and solve their problem with you're keeping it all inside the frame.
Yeah.
And then the last one is
a process.
What's
frame.
the process?
Yeah. What is the process? And is it simple?
So that they can see it. So the client can see the process happening. So they know what the conclusion is going to be.
Yes.
Before you get there.
The end result, what this is going to look like, and what are the steps to that end result. And this is the thing that agents may not be aware of. I'm convinced of this. That people will say no to you on the phone and at the door because they think it's too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They will. And you don't know why they said no to you. You think it's because of your beard. And maybe it could be, but many times people think they won't protect their families because it's too complicated.
Well, a part of it, they fear that they're going to do it wrong or make a mistake.
Yeah.
And they have to have confidence, you as the advisor, that solution is very easy. And you, at that moment, you can't flex on how much you know and all this crazy, there's these types of policies in the world and these types of
geez.
Man, and I tell you this all the time, you have to speak on your client's level of understanding and not your level of knowledge. And
that's really good.
It is so important to do that because there's been in many homes where I have to adjust my personality, my style, my communication method based upon the client's level of understanding. Because sometimes they are, you sit with a former CPA, you're going to speak to them in a different language than you are going to
Yes.
somebody that was a social worker, helping families in need their entire life. They just have a different heart, a different way of understanding a different thing that's important to them. And you could be the smartest insurance person in the world, but you can also blow them out the water and never close one deal.
And I think that happens for agents too, in regards to what they sell. If it feels overwhelming, they'll stay in one specific lane and not expand their portfolio or their opportunity or anything.
Because they'll feel overwhelmed.
They feel overwhelmed. We feel this. We are people.
Everyone, yeah.
We are people. You are people. We're all people. We all experience the same things.
We are all people.
That is a fact, guys. You can.
My
can
dog's
write
not
that
people.
down. Well,
We are.
I can't do anything about that.
We have to filter. We have to be a filter, essentially. We have to take all the information in and figure out how we can process it back to them in the simplest form with a simple solution, and this is all it takes.
I want to give a practical example of that, okay? Whether it's on the phone or at the door, like you're saying, like, simplify this process. How do I do that, And we like things bite size, like accessible, that it's that's simple, it's easy. So at the beginning of this, we can say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this just takes a couple of moments. I'm going to give you the information. What you do with it is completely up to you. So step one, I'm just giving them information. That's it. And then they can make a decision. That's it. And then that allows me to start the conversation. Towards the end, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what we're going to do next is I'm going to ask you some health questions. We're going to see if you qualify. We're going to fill out an application, and then we're going to see if you qualify. Well, that doesn't sound hard. I can do that. What about annuities? Like, what is it? What are the steps for that? Like, I'm going to collect some papers. We're going to take it back, review it, and then I'll be back and we're going to offer a solution.
That's right.
It's simple. It's simple. It's not hard. Like, now what we're going to do is we're going to review these annuities and we're going to put it through this grid and we're going to come back with 35 options for you. No, I'm done. I'm out. Right. So like that frame keeps it tight. And when we do this, like, I know it's like a goofy thing, but this is what it's this way.
Yes.
This is what directors do, right? Because they want to see what that picture is going to look like. If you look, these are our fingers. We are the ones in charge. We get to decide what that looks like and what is seen. Everything else is noise behind it. So those are the important pieces.
You definitely can get off track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But if we keep their emotions in mind, how they feel about this need, we paint a forward picture, vision, right?
Correct.
We give them an opportunity to take ownership, and then we have a simple process that they can follow. We're now keeping the important things inside the frame.
So we can get to that end result.
So you get to the desired end result. You know what it is, and you're actually painting the picture for the client, so they also know what it is.
Boom.
And you're not wandering through fields of barley.
I don't know.
I think there's a song. Yeah.
I think
Something.
so too.
Yeah, there's a
I
song
don't
somewhere.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Adam will find it for
Yeah,
us.
there's a song somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you guys for being a part of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. I hope this brought value to you, and we cannot wait to connect with you on the next episode. See you then.